Lesson 13. It's a steal. Welcome to Lesson 13. It's a steal. In this lesson, you'll hear Mr. and Mrs. York talk to their realtor about the possibility of purchasing a house they have been looking at for several weeks. Listen to the first part of the dialogue and see if you understand all of the idioms that are used. Part A. Idioms in Action. Part 1.
So, Mr. and Mrs. York, you've seen the place 3 times now. What do you think? Are you in the market for such a wonderful house?
It really is lovely, but I think we'd like another week to mull it over.
Sure. But I will say, for what you're getting, the scenic location, the amenities, the place is truly a steal. You won't find a better deal. The value of this land is going up daily. In a couple of years, it'll go through the roof. If you decide to buy, what you'll pay now is a drop in the bucket compared to what you could eventually sell it for. You'll really clean up.
We'll keep that in mind. We just don't want to rush into anything. We want to take our time with this decision. We've been burned before.
Part B. Take a closer look. Okay, let's stop there. So far, you've heard these expressions. Listen to each explanation, and then try to repeat the example for practice.
To be in the market for something.
To want to buy something. To be looking to buy something. I'm in the market for a 2-bedroom apartment, so if you hear of anything, let me know.
To mull something over.
To think about something. To consider a situation. Mr. and Mrs. York would like to think more about buying the house. They would like to mull it over.
To be a steal.
To be a great bargain. To get a lot of value for your money. The house Mr. and Mrs. York are looking at is almost new and in a great area. Considering this, they are not paying as much as one might expect. The house is a steal.
To go up.
To increase. To become higher or larger. The price of apartments in the city has gone up every year for the past decade.
To go through the roof.
With reference to money, price, value, it means to become very high. The value of the house will become very high after a few years. The value will go through the roof. This expression can also refer to a person's reaction to a situation. In this case, it means to have an extreme angry reaction. When Carla found out she wasn't getting a holiday bonus, she got so mad she began yelling at her boss. When she found out, she went through the roof.
To be a drop in the bucket.
To be small in comparison to something else. To be a very small portion of some much larger total. Mr. and Mrs. York may feel like the cost of the new home is high, but it is very little compared to what they will be able to sell it for later. The current price is a drop in the bucket.
To clean up.
To make a very large profit. To make a lot of money. Doreen and Linda bought a house in this neighborhood years ago before it was popular. They've just sold it for 3 times what they paid. They really cleaned up.
To take your time doing something.
To not rush. To do something slowly and carefully. Mr. and Mrs. York would like to consider the situation carefully. They would like to take their time deciding.
To be burned.
To be betrayed, fooled, or hurt, especially after expecting a positive outcome. Mr. and Mrs. York have bought homes in the past. It seemed like a good idea at the time, but many things went wrong and they lost a lot of money. They have been burned before.
Before we go on to hear Mr. and Mrs. York discuss how they feel about buying the house, let's listen to a few more important expressions used in their conversation. Repeat the example sentences given for each new expression.
To eye something up.
To look at, examine, or consider visually. Another couple is looking at the house too. They're eyeing the place up.
To chomp at the bit.
To be very anxious or eager to do something. The kids are really eager to leave school and start their summer vacations. They're really chomping at the bit.
To strike while the iron's hot.
To take advantage of a favorable opportunity. Prices are low now, so you should buy while it's a favorable time to buy. You should strike while the iron's hot.
To talk something over.
To discuss carefully in order to come to a decision. This is an important decision, so let's take a couple of minutes to discuss it in depth. Let's talk things over.
To make yourself scarce.
To leave, to move away from someone. Tom wanted to talk to Diane alone, so he asked us to make ourselves scarce. Note that this expression, if used as a request made of someone else, can be considered rude, but it's safe to say it of yourself. I'll just make myself scarce.
A dream come true.
Something wonderful. Something so good it's as though it came out of a dream. Jeremy just loves his job. It's perfect for him, and he has nothing bad to say about it. It's a dream come true for him.
To keep in mind.
To remember, to consider. Keep in mind, this place just came on the market, and it'll sell fast.
To talk something up.
To praise something verbally. To speak highly of something or exaggerate its value. She's a realtor, so it's her job to emphasize the value of the home. It's her job to talk the place up.
A catch.
A drawback or negative quality that might not be obvious. The house was wonderful, but the catch was that it sits next to train tracks. A catch can also be a person who would be good to date. Patricia is so happy with the new guy she is dating. He is smart, funny, and kind. I'd have to agree with her. He is quite a catch.
To be hung up on something.
To find fault with something. To identify a weakness or a drawback in something. I really love the movie until the love scene, which I found unrealistic and just plain hard to watch. I got hung up on the love scene and wound up hating the whole movie.
At your fingertips.
Readily available. With the internet, so much information is at your fingertips.
To lose your shirt.
To become financially ruined. To lose a lot of money. Henry and Cynthia lost all their money in an unwise investment. They really lost their shirts.
A crapshoot.
A chance or risk, named after the dice game. Investment is always a big risk. It's a real crapshoot.
Nest egg.
A sum of money saved up and set aside. After working and saving for so long, we have some money set aside. We have a nest egg for retirement.
Part C. Idioms in Action. Part 2. Okay, now that you've heard some of the expressions that the realtor and Mr. and Mrs. York will use, let's continue by listening as they discuss how they feel about buying the house.
I should mention, though, there are two other couples who are eyeing the place up. They'd like to see the place next week and are chomping at the bit to buy it. And because the buyer's market has never been better, you want to strike while the iron's hot.
Do you think we could have a couple of minutes to ourselves to talk things over?
Of course. I'll make myself scarce and wait for you outside.
From what I've seen, this place is a dream come true.
Yes, dear, but keep in mind, it's his job to talk the place up. It does seem perfect. Too perfect. I keep thinking, what's the catch?
So what aren't you happy with?
Nothing in particular. I guess I always get cold feet before any big decision.
I thought maybe you were hung up on the kitchen. I know how you like your space in the kitchen.
Oh, the kitchen is small, but that's not a problem. Besides, I'll have everything right at my fingertips, right?
So what is the problem?
It's just so much money. We could lose our shirts with this.
Let's not forget, dear, any time you make an investment, it's a crapshoot. But we should remember why we're doing this. We wanted to simplify our lives and to have a nest egg for retirement. And from what Martin tells us, even if we end up hating it here, if we move, we'll almost surely make money. If not for the house, then for the land.
You're right. And I do love that hot tub out back.
We'll make an offer then?
Let's find Martin and tell him it's a go.
Part D. Now it's your turn. Now let's practice with some of the other expressions we've seen in this lesson. Listen to each situation, and then supply the appropriate expression. You mean I can choose any 4 pieces of clothing in the store and pay only $50? What a great bargain! What a
steal.
Choosing a college is a big step. Jeffrey and his parents aren't rushing. They are
Taking their time.
Beatrice is a shoo-in for the scholarship because her uncle is on the committee and told the other members a lot of nice things about her. Her uncle
Talked her up to the committee.
Eunice's heating bill was outrageous last month. That's because she uses gas, and gas prices have increased very much recently. Her bill was so high because gas prices have
Gone through the roof.
Don't complain that the lawn furniture you just bought broke. You knew that you were taking a chance by buying them new off the internet. You knew that buying things on the internet can be
A crapshoot.
Calvin pretends he is not interested in buying that leather jacket, but every time we pass that store, I catch him looking at it longingly. I catch him
Eyeing it up.
Are you selling your jet skis? What luck! I happen to be looking to buy a new pair. I happen to be
In the market.
Everyone is really enthusiastic about the project, and they're very eager to start working on it immediately. Everyone is
Chomping at the bit.
Could you two leave for a moment so Jill and I can be alone to talk? Could you two make yourselves
Scarce.
Jacob used to have a lot of money, but he made some very unwise investments and he really lost everything. He really
Lost his shirt.
All right. That's the end of Lesson 13. It's a steal. As usual, you can go back and review if you'd like, or listen to the next lesson for some more new idioms.